it being 6 p.m. on October 5th, 2022. We will wait, won't we? To make sure.
Yes, we are waiting for a quorum.
This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with the extension of the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during public input portion of a hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you who will be joining by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be posted on the city's web pages. All votes will be done by a roll call to ensure count accuracy.
Okay, so at this time, I'm trying to promote Peggy to panelist. She is here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
And I will see if I can check in on Laura so that we can make quorum.
I wasn't sure myself if it would be a 6 or a 6:30 start.
Okay, I've sent a text to Laura to see if she's able to get in. Okay, Laura should be joining us shortly. Okay, and I do see Scott has his hand raised, but technically until we have quorum, we're not meeting officially. So once Laura gets here, we can start the agenda.
Megan, should I be able to see Scott with his hand raised?
You might need to navigate to the bottom where it says participants,
Yeah.
and it should dock it on
Under
the side.
under attendee?
Yes, there. So if you dock the participants, there should be a tab that says panelists and then a tab that says attendees.
All right.
You might have to toggle between panelists.
Okay. I just don't see a hand. Oh, there it is. I think. Oh, no hand. For those of you who are just joining in, we're just waiting for the last commissioner who will be attending to establish quorum.
Megan, I have a quick question.
Mhm.
The last meeting I went to, I had supporting documents, maps and things like that. But I did not notice any maps. Am I not accessing this correctly?
Are you looking, is this for a particular hearing?
Yes, for tonight.
Mhm. Is it a particular agenda item, or are you missing?
I can't find any of them.
Okay, let me, if you can access your email, I'll send you the direct link to the file folder again.
Okay,
It
great.
might be you're navigating to an older
Okay,
meeting file.
okay, thank you.
Do you have any further information from Laura?
She says she's just getting home, so I think she's literally on her way to logging in.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura.
Okay, Joyce, since we have quorum now, I think if you want to give the introduction again,
Oh,
and
okay,
then we can take
certainly.
the roll call and proceed.
Certainly. It being 6:15 PM on October 5th, 2022, I call this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with the extension of the governor's order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during the public input portion of a hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be posted on the city's web pages. All votes will be done by a roll call to ensure count accuracy. For roll call, would each commissioner please announce that you're here? If you don't mind, would it be possible for, if it's okay with the commissioners, is it okay if we respond alphabetically? For roll call and also for voting? Does that seem okay with you? Which would make Laura first and the V would be last. The Boris would be last. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Commissioners? Okay. So if commissioners, if you could please announce that you're here with your first and
Laura
last.
Beekler here.
Peggy Curtis here.
Joyce Boris here. There are 3 of the 4 commissioners present, therefore quorum is met. I believe the first item on the agenda was supposed to be Claremont Avenue and then a determination of applicability, items 1 and 2 on the agenda. But I believe, Megan, that there was a request, a recent request to continue to October 19th. Is that correct?
Yes, we received a request this afternoon to continue both the discussion of the enforcement order at Claremont Ave and the RDA for Howard Street to the October 19th meeting. The applicant owners' representatives are working first on addressing the comments on the enforcement order from the last meeting, which would be the August meeting, and providing revised restoration plans. And then for the RDA, they are preparing a revised SWIP plan, the stormwater management plan, for consideration with the RDA. And so in both cases, they're asking that the discussion and the hearing be continued to October 19th.
So may we have a
I make a motion to continue the enforcement order on Claremont Avenue and the request for determination of Howard Street to the October 19th meeting.
thank you, Peggy.
You are.
Second,
Beekler second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Boris, aye. Motion is passed. The next item on the agenda is a notice of intent for the NAP Center towing facility at West Chestnut. Let's see.
I'm promoting Scott Faria from JK Holmgren for this item.
Good evening, Scott. How are you?
Good evening, folks. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Commission members. Scott Faria from Holmgren Engineering, representing Lynch's Towing for a piece of property that we've had before you guys for a few months now. And I think we even had a site visit with a couple of members back in either May or June. I forget exactly the exact date. So I know we went over things quickly at our first meeting, but we haven't been back since. So I just wanted to take a moment, if I may, Madam Chair, just to quickly go over the plan. Megan, could you allow me to share my screen?
You should be able to, Scott.
There we go. You see that?
Yep.
If it works that easy for me, that's the only reason I'm asking. Okay, so here's a site. West Chestnut Street is at the bottom of the screen as you're looking at it right now. Heading up Knapp Center, there is a wetland area at what would be the top of our property. Kind of a skinny strip of wetlands. Just about everybody around our lot has been developed over the last 20 to 40 years. This is kind of the little skinny strip that's been left. So there's a BBW right along the lot line, which puts us within your jurisdiction. Just to give a brief history of the property was up until a few years ago has been owned by the city of Brockton. And historically, going way back to the 30s, the site was used as a solid waste dump. And the story is when we had hurricanes in the 30s, any debris that the city cleaned up, construction debris, houses, things of that manner, were dumped on this property. Then at some point, obviously, they stopped doing it. They basically capped it, put some loom over it, and over time, it just reforested it itself. And when my client bought it, it was completely wooded. In going through our ZBA process, we're made aware of the fact that it was a solid waste site, and that kicked us into a DEP approval. So for the last, it's really been 3 years. For the last 3 years, they've been going back and forth with DEP, trying to get approval to do something on the property. We think we're at the point now where we're just about at the finish line with DEP. We have a plan going forward that they're happy with. So because of that, we're comfortable now coming before you folks, hopefully getting your blessing, and then going ahead and getting to the planning board for planning board approval in the coming months, knowing that in the meantime, we still need to get DEP's final approval. So that's the breakdown of the site. So when you go out and look at the site, you can see that it's been filled. Everybody around us is at one elevation, behind us, to the side of us, across the street, and our site kind of rises up about 12 or 14 feet at its highest point. So that mound that's just on our property is all the solid waste that was dumped historically on the property. So to really oversimplify it, our plan is to basically shave the entire site down to virgin ground, sift that material, come up with essentially two piles, a pile of dirt and a pile of debris. The debris will get shipped out, and the dirt will then be tested. If it meets certain requirements, it'll be used as fill on the property. If the screened dirt doesn't meet those requirements, that'll get trucked off as well, and we'll have to fill the entire site to match the site plan that we have before you. So that part of the process is really an unknown right now. We have to get out there and start doing it before we know exactly the amount of material that we can use or that we need to bring in. So that's a quick history of the project. Once we submitted to you folks, the project was sent to Beta for review. We've gone back and forth with Beta a few times, and we received a letter today from Beta. We've got either 2 or 3 outstanding issues on the site that we hope and kind of feel like are kind of minor calculation issues that we don't think are going to take a lot of time for us to fix or to get back to Beta. And we don't think it's going to have a significant impact on the plans at all, and really won't make any change at all to the plan. So they'll pretty much be looking tomorrow once we make these changes as they do today. So the plan for Mr. Lynch is to build his towing facility. Right now, he has a couple of facilities throughout the city. His main location is on Montello Street in the Campello section right near the T station. He has a residential development that is under agreement. The people are itching to get it under construction. And to be honest, the city's itching to get it under construction to get some needed housing downtown right on the train station. So Mr. Lynch is hoping to put his towing facility here. It's a 25,000 square foot facility. It'll be entirely fenced in, screened from all of our neighbors who are all commercial / industrial uses, no residential neighbors at all. And it will be, as I said, a fenced in property. We have drainage facilities proposed throughout the site. And that's really a quick rundown, Madam Chair. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point.
Commissioners, are there any questions at all? For Mr. Faria? I do have one quick question, Scott.
Sure.
I noticed there was an email that Megan had received from DEP. And it said something about there were no fatal flaws in the plans. But does that?
I think that's DEP's way of saying it looks okay. Unfortunately, they're not as flowery, I guess, in their language as we'd like them to be, but yeah, no fatal flaws. So I think that basically means it's okay for us to proceed and keep moving.
Commissioners, any questions?
I know when we had visited the site, we had talked about the driveway and the runoff of rain with oil contained in it on that side where the green is.
Right.
And you've addressed that, is that correct?
Sure. So as I said, the entire site that we're looking at here, the gray area is the proposed paved area. So the entire site will be paved. It's not gravel or permeable pavement, it's bituminous concrete. All of the runoff is directed in a whole bunch of different directions, but it's all directed into catch basins that go into manholes, eventually into infiltration systems. For the vast majority of the site, there's a little section of the site that instead of going infiltration basin, goes into a sediment forebay, and everything eventually either through an overflow or through the sediment forebay dumps out into the detention basin. So the entire drainage system meets all of the stormwater management guidelines that we're required to meet under DEP's regulations. So the deep sump catch basins, the infiltration system, the all of those structures will take care of any potential issues that the site would have.
Thank you.
Scott, what's the capacity for that? Yeah, that that area at the top there, that, yeah.
We'll zoom up on it, Madam Chair, but the pond handles the 100-year storm event for roughly for the rooftop and a small section of the parking directly behind and aside the building. If I can zoom up a little bit more, I can tell you the height, but it's about a 4-foot deep basin, Madam Chair.
And then would the other drains be draining into the city stormwater system?
No, we're not allowed to have anything drain out into the public way. So the rest of the site, these large dashed rectangles,
Right.
The infiltration systems. So the infiltration systems are sized to handle the 100-year storm. So again, those areas will get caught within the catch basins, piped to the manholes and into the infiltration system. So the calculations show that there's one down here near West Chestnut, one on this corner and one right in the middle. Those three infiltration systems will handle all of the runoff in a 100-year storm.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. In the notes that I'm reading from Megan, has the commission received a revised plan of restoration plan for the 25-foot buffer zone? Am I missing it?
Don't have it from LEC. I spoke to Claire from LEC. She was hoping to have it tomorrow.
All right.
So, and I guess just to expand on that a little bit, the biggest issue is the solid waste that I was speaking about early. Pretty much goes right up to the toe of the slope, pretty much goes right up to the edge of the wetland. So it didn't make much sense for us to put a siltation barrier at the 25-foot buffer zone, excavate all that material out. We would have been leaving a small hump of potential solid waste. So basically, as part of their restoration plan, we'll be going right up to the wetlands, scratching all that material out. And then their restoration plan will restore the 0 to 25-foot buffer zone. So that's what we're waiting on as far as that goes.
But those details will be forthcoming, correct? Those
I don't-
details-
Yeah, I don't know that it's, I don't think it's that extravagant. I'm sure it's like any other restoration plan that you folks have received. It's not, it's kind of just your average run of the mill. I mean, it's really a skinny wetland. It's only about 10
Yeah.
feet wide. So I don't, I don't think it'll be anything groundbreaking for you folks once you see it.
Any other questions? Megan, your report, please.
So what I can do is I can go through my report regarding the wetland impacts, and then Phil from Beta Group is also here. I think it would be helpful if he reviews his latest comment letter regarding the stormwater, because there are some special considerations given the soils on the site. But in terms of the wetland impacts, as we've already discussed, due to the proposed solid waste removal and soil reclamation, it is now proposed that the reclamation work go up to basically the wetland boundary. I think that there are, even though that would be considered touching the 25-foot no touch, I think in this case, it could be justified because it is a heavily degraded 25-foot buffer zone, both due to the solid waste in the fill and the plant community out there has been colonized by Japanese knotweed, and which is likely going to continue to spread. So it could be killing two birds with one stone to remove the solid waste and take out the knotweed with it and restore that buffer zone. But again, as Laura has pointed out, we don't have the buffer zone restoration plan itself. So we know the area, it'll be the 25-foot buffer zone. But in terms of both the planting plan, any special details about the reclamation procedure as it applies to the 25-foot buffer zone, and then any additional comments related to the removal and monitoring for the Japanese knotweed. Those are all things that we would expect to see in the full restoration plan, and that we'd be able to review for once we receive that plan. But assuming that we're going to be receiving that, I have prepared some special conditions just for the commission to consider when the time comes. Something this in relation to what Joyce brought up about Mass DEP solid wastes approval. As we pointed out, we do have a sort of unofficial okay for Mass DEP solid waste section. That's sort of the no fatal flaw comment. We can presume then that all of the solid waste application is going to go through, but just to be sure, I would recommend a special condition that prior to the start of work and commission approval of any building permits, the commission does get copies of the official approvals from Mass DEP solid waste section for all of those applications. And so there are a couple of applications before Mass DEP solid waste, including the corrective action design, and that's the actual reclamation work, the removal of the solid waste and the sieving out of the remaining soils. And then there's also going to be a post-closure use approval, which would be the application where the solid waste section approves the post-closure use, which would be the towing facility and site improvements. So we will want copies of those official approvals. And then I'm recommending some, at this point, general comments regarding the monitoring of the restoration area. Those, again, I say broad because they're based on not seeing the actual restoration plan. It's potentially, depending on how involved the restoration plan is, I might need to revise these, but these would be general, as we would expect in terms of the 2-year monitoring period after initial planting prior to a complete certificate of compliance. And then the other condition we usually include would be that the initial plantings and seedings be completed prior to a partial certificate of compliance, and that the partial certificate of compliance be granted prior to the certificate of occupancy for the building, just to keep the timelines on track. But again, those are very general recommended conditions without actually seeing the restoration plan at this point. And then I know, in addition to the comments that I included in my October 4th report, I know Beta Group is recommending additional special conditions based on the stormwater review. So Madam Chair, if you would like, I would recommend that Phil from Beta would go through those for us.
Thank you very much. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Phil Paradis with Beta Group, a professional engineer and certified professional in stormwater quality. We've been asked to provide a peer review of the stormwater system for this project. And largely it's a challenging site, but Scott and his team have done a decent job at providing systems that meet the requirements of the stormwater management standards from Mass DEP. There are a few, because of the uniqueness of the site and its use, we did recommend a few conditions, mostly because, as was described earlier, there's going to be quite a bit of earthwork and or heavy machinery on site to move and remove and or sift and the soils on site. And also NRC maps indicate that the native soils here are woodridge, fine sandy loam with a hydrologic group rating of C/D, meaning it gets worse as it gets wet. The test pits that were provided indicate that that's not exactly what's on site. However, again, because of the variableness of the condition after the removal of the debris, we would recommend that two situations is recommend that test pits, open deep hole test pits be conducted on each of the systems, and also in situ hydrologic conductivity tests be conducted to both confirm the infiltration rate and the depth to groundwater, soil texture, et cetera, for each of the infiltration systems and infiltration basins. So, and also to answer a question previously asked, yes, this is a land use that is a land use of higher potential pollutant load. We did have Scott and his team put in oil grid separators prior to any infiltration or discharge, except in the front. We had some discussion that it would be difficult for them to install those in the front parking area. We presume that would be mostly employee parking areas, and therefore would not be highly susceptible to leakage from damaged cars or other things that that would be associated with the higher land use, the higher pollutant potential pollutant load for this use. And then subsequent to the testing, we would recommend that there's a few calculations that could be or may have a potential to be updated based on whatever findings we come with the soil testing. So that they may need to be adjusted. That would be stormwater numbers 27 and 28. We also recommend NSW3. We also recommend that the final operation and maintenance plan be compiled as a standalone document that contain the latest version did not contain the map or the checklist. So yeah, so bottom line, we need test pits in all the basins, both deep hole and conductivity, hydrologic conductivity tests, as indicated in the Mass DEP standards. And then update calcs if necessary, as necessary, and an updated O&M plan. That's
What it's worth, Madam Chair, we're happy with both, Megan's comments and Mr. Paradise's comments as well. So we don't have any issues with either of them.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving forward, Megan, is there any, let's see. So we have the beta stormwater special conditions. The conditions that Megan has outlined. Is there any, commissioners, is there any reason that you think that we should continue this at all? Megan?
Just to summarize. So yes, I've recommended some special conditions in my report, including some general conditions that would cover monitoring for the restoration area that we haven't reviewed at this point, but they would cover that. From my understanding, the comments in Beta's latest report, those conditions could also be included in an order of conditions, and that would cover the outstanding stormwater requirements. So I think then the outstanding issue that the commission should consider right now is the restoration plan itself. As you know, as part of the commission's filing information and regulations, it's the policy of the commission not to close hearings or issue orders with plans pending.
Right.
So the commission should consider that policy in regards to this. If the commission wants to consider further closing this hearing, without the plan as of tonight. My only other suggestion would be, in addition to the special conditions from my report and the special conditions from Beta's report, the commission should also consider an additional special condition that the revised, or not the revised, but the restoration plan, once it has been submitted, should be reviewed by the commission. And the only way to make it an official plan of record would be to amend the order of conditions. So I would recommend that an additional special condition be that the restoration plan be submitted to the commission along with a request for an amended order of conditions to include that plan. And I'd recommend that would be done prior to the start of site work. So that would be that additional condition plus the ones in the report, the two reports, if the commission wants to consider that.
Commissioners?
Can they get the restoration plan by the next meeting on October 19th?
That is the plan, yes.
So do you want to continue until October 19th and we'll have all the information at hand and then we can approve it?
My problem is, and it's my problem, obviously, not you folks. Our problem is we need to file for site plan approval through the planning board, and they won't accept our filing until we've closed with you folks. Their next deadline is, I'm just looking, their next deadline is October 11th. After that, their next deadline is November 7th, which doesn't put us on their agenda until December. So it's, for us, it's a matter of timing, as we prefer and would be thrilled if we could do what Megan said, if we can get, close it out, get our order of conditions. And as soon as the folks at LEC give us that restoration plan, we'll immediately file for an amendment to include that and allow you folks a chance to kick it around. And it's, that's still gonna be within the time frame that the planning board is even reviewing it. It basically saves us a month is what it does, which at this point in the season is really important to Mr. Lynch and the ability to start constructing the residential building offsite and for him to try to get going before the weather turns bad. So Megan's suggestion would, we would be thrilled with that suggestion if we could go that way, folks.
I don't have a problem with that.
Laura?
I guess if it's going to be available, you said probably tomorrow. It was the idea. The report would be available.
Would that be the restoration plan would be available tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Can we put them on the agenda for tomorrow night? Or are we already packed?
I think it's pretty full.
I have no problem with moving forward as long as the amendment comes in. I mean, it's an exception to the rule, I think, because usually we try to make sure that we have it, but due to the fact of timing, I get where it's going. I'm comfortable with saying that then they would just have to file on the addendum to it.
And all of these conditions that have been outlined
Yeah, by the agent along with Beta.
would have to be met as well, correct?
Yeah.
And we'd have to have a little bit more than no fatal flaws, correct? DEP.
Good.
Correct.
So do I make the motion?
A motion, well, Megan, were you going to say something?
To clarify, if we're moving towards closing the hearing, we should take public comment, and then it would be close the hearing and then take a vote on approval or issuance.
I personally feel as though this is a really, really large project. I'm not so sure I want to close the hearing right now without seeing the actual restoration document. And just having a little bit more time to go through Beta's report. Would anyone entertain a motion to continue till the 19th?
Based on our rules and regulations, that's probably the best way to go. But again, delaying the project by another month, then you're running into the bad weather. We have been to the site. We have met with the Holgram engineering people, and we have reviewed our concerns, and I believe most of them have been addressed.
Is there anyone here from the public that wants to comment? Let me see. Is there anyone? Oh, let me see. Do you think you could
See
stop
any
sharing?
hand up?
Could you stop sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Stop. Thank you.
Okay,
There you go.
I see Lisa Crowley has her hand raised.
Lisa? Do you have video? Oh, good.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you.
Great. I just wanted to comment about the continuance. Just as a resident and some of the things that have gone on in our neck of the woods, I think it would just be good procedure to continue it to October 19th. The excavating work that they're talking about, that many of us over here near Removal Park have seen that it goes 24/7 if they could actually do it. So I don't think it's going to slow them down all that much. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, I believe Ms. Crowley is now a job with the one that was continued.
No, but I think you can still work right up until October 19th. I don't think it's going to slow you down at all if they continue it, because it's still part of the plan. So just to dot i's and cross t's, follow their own policy and just continue it till October 19th. And no, I am not confused at all. I know which projects we're talking about.
Or you
But a
mentioned
lot of it
remove a
sounds
part.
very, yeah, but a lot of what you guys are doing is what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I don't think the weather's going to stop much, especially in the next 2 weeks. So that's just my opinion. They can do whatever they want. I just want to throw it out there.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Stick with policy.
Thank you. Commissioners? I don't believe, no, that's the only one with hand up. I'd entertain a motion as far as continuing to the 19th.
I think we should probably, as to best policies and procedures, unfortunately for them, we need to continue to the October 19th meeting.
Would you like to make a motion, Peggy?
I make a motion to continue to the October 19th meeting.
Motion has been made.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Vote. Laura?
Be clear.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. We'll continue to the 19th.
Thanks for your time and consideration, folks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Paradise, as well. That was
Have a good night.
a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda. Notification of change in ownership and extension request for Campanelli Industrial Drive.
Madam Chair, I believe we have another NOI.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 4.
Peterson Avenue.
It doesn't look like it came through on this last. Okay, let me check. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Peterson Avenue, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And I believe the owner
Yep.
of the property is here, so I'm promoting him.
Maggie, could you unmute yourself? Mr. Francione. Could you unmute yourself, please? Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Mikey Francillon. I'm the applicant for 125 Peterson Avenue. This hearing is a second hearing. We continue. We had the previous hearing on August 17, I believe. The commission has recommended, oh, I'm sorry, my just baby just woke up. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm coming, baby, I'm coming. Okay. So, okay, I'm coming, okay? Yes, so we have, oh my God. Okay, stay with me. I'm sorry. My wife's supposed to be with me. She is a nurse. She was mandated to stay at work. I'm sorry, I'm the only one. So just give me 1 minute, please.
No problem at all. We've been there before.
Okay. Okay. You want to see? You want to see the lady? Okay, see, I'm sorry. Yes, so, oh my God. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'm coming. So, follow up with the recommendation that the commission has requested. We have submitted a revised plan. Megan, I don't know if you can help me with the previous plan and the revised plan, so the commissioner will be able to see that follow up with the recommendation. And then, would you be able to help me, Megan, please?
Yes, I can bring up the plan for you.
So I think I've done everything the commission have recommended, and I would like the commission to grant me the order of conditions so I can move forward. If there is anything I can add.
Megan, are you going?
I'm trying to bring up the plan now, but in the meantime, I can give my update if that helps, so we
That would
can,
be very helpful. Thank you.
yes, I'm trying to do two things, but
Sorry.
I have a copy of the plan on my computer, so I can see what you're talking about.
okay, so
Yeah.
I can start, I can share it while I'm trying to get it to update. But yes, so we received a revised plan in response to our comments from the August 17th meeting. Essentially, the request was to straighten out the fencing, both for practicality purposes and to preserve a little bit of the 50-foot buffer zone. Also to relocate the shed slightly so that it was, again, easier for installation and maintenance. So based on that, those were the only comments that we had to address. So at this point, my recommended special conditions would be the same as from the last meeting, that the limit of work shall be staked out in the field prior to the pre-construction meeting, that the fence shall be installed on the upland side of the limit of work, and that the limit of work markers shall be installed every 15 feet along the approved limit of work. Again, just in case if someday the fence comes down, there will still be a record of where the limit of work was.
So according to this map, the fence is outlining the green area, is that correct? Or am I looking at this the wrong way?
Correct. So the fence is being proposed along the limit of work, and the limit of work is going to be
Is
the
that
backyard, so to speak. So right now, there's not much of a backyard to this house. So essentially, everything that's green is going to be lawn, and the fence is going to be installed along the limit of work. It's generally along the 25-foot buffer zone, except where in the few cases it's been straightened out, it'll be a little bit beyond the 25-foot, so it'll preserve a bit of the 50-foot in those locations.
Mhm. And the shed is in the 25-foot buffer zone, or is it still in the 50?
It's still in the 50, so the proposed shed is within the footprint of the lawn area, so nothing will be beyond the fence.
Mhm. In the other order of conditions, has the markers been put out already?
I'm recommending that the markers be included as a special condition, so they would go in as part of the construction prior to the certificate of compliance.
Would that be in the 25-foot buffer zone or the 50?
It would be along the limit of work, which is generally right about at the 25-foot, except for the couple places it's further outward. So it's in the 50, so to speak. Nothing should be going into the 25, including the markers. The markers would be at the limit of work.
Would they be would the markers go in inside the fence or outside the fence?
I did not specify. I know in a similar case, I believe it was Melrose Ave, we did have them on the outside of the fence, so to speak. So if you were in the yard, you wouldn't see them. But if the fence came down, you would see them behind the fence.
Right, okay. Mhm. That makes sense. Because if you put them on the inside of the fence, then they're subject to, being knocked over when you're doing the lawn or things like that. So the outside of the fence makes sense, because then it would be a warning to anyone who took the fence down. That's the area that they have to be careful.
Any other commission questions? Laura? No? Do you see anyone here for public comment? Let me check.
I do not see any hands.
Okay. entertain a vote to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing for 125 Peterson Ave.
I second.
Yeah, motion's been made and seconded.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Vora's aye. Motion passes. Do I hear a motion to issue an order of conditions with those special conditions outlined in the agent's report?
I'll make a motion to issue with conditions outlined in Megan's report.
Beekler, second.
Curtis, I.
Beekler, aye.
Vora's aye. Thank you. I believe that's,
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the
No.
interruption, but
no, don't ever
it's out of my
apologize.
control. I'm sorry again.
No, don't ever apologize for that. And thank you very much for following the intent of the law to preserve the wetlands. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thanks to Megan.
Okay. So next on the agenda would be the notification of change in ownership. Extension request for Campanelli. Let's see.
I don't see anyone for this, but I also know they sent a letter. So
Mhm.
that's what this is referring to.
Mhm. Would you like to give a report on that, Megan?
Yes, so this, as you may recall, was an order of conditions, 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive. It's an existing warehouse building. The order was to redo the loading docks and do some drainage improvements, but as part of that order of conditions, there was also some restoration work required along the intermittent stream on the north side of the property that had been, the 25-foot buffer zone had been encroached on by landscaping activities. So there was a restoration plan, and in the order of conditions, one of the special conditions was that the restoration area, any fill was to be removed and the plantings were to go in within 1 year of the issuance of the order of conditions. And the order was issued September 7th, 2021. So the deadline to do that initial restoration work would have been 9/7/2022. However, in that time, the property was sold to a new owner that recently acquired it. So the letter is from the new owner explaining that they have just taken on the property and are still in the process of hiring contractors to do the work. And so they were anticipating that they weren't going to be able to get the plantings in before the cold weather. So they're requesting an extension of that requirement for 9 months, which would extend it to June 7th, 2023, to give them this upcoming spring to do the planting work. And so the suggestion is 9 months rather than a year. That way, if they don't do the restoration work by the spring, it would still give us the summer and fall to do enforcement if needed, to try to get them moving. But at this time, they're requesting if the commission would consider voting on the 9-month extension for the plantings until June.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? No?
No.
Have a motion to grant the extension?
Motion to grant the extension.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded for 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive for an extension request.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Vora's aye. Motion has been passed. Okay. The Next item on the agenda, ratification of the enforcement order at 1330 Pleasant Street. Megan, you have a report for that?
Yes, so this ratification was carried over from the August 17th agenda. Since we didn't have quorum at the time to complete that agenda. So this was an enforcement order that I issued in August, responding to a report that there was ongoing earth moving, including the installation of an in-ground pool at 1330 Pleasant Street. As you may recall, this project was last before the commission in December of 2021, where there was a request for a certificate of compliance for the house construction at that property. That request was denied by the commission due to various deviations between what was built and what was approved under the order of conditions. So with that denial, there were several requirements for what needed to be addressed on the site before a certificate of compliance would be issued. And that included removing the crushed stone driveway that had been installed all the way around the house. There was incorrect grading that had changed the drainage pattern on the house or around the house. And then there was some leftover construction debris on the site that was requested to be removed. And so all of those items were included with the denial of certificate of compliance. And again, since then, there has been the additional work, including the pool installation. So the enforcement order that I issued included not only the same requests from our COC denial, but also that a notice of intent needs to be filed for the pool and any work associated with the pool. And so as part of that, I did include that notice of intent needs to be submitted by September 21st, or else the pool will need to be removed. Prior to that date, the engineer who is now representing the owner applicant put in a request that September 21st deadline be extended to October 21st. So basically giving them another month to prepare the notice of intent that addresses the items in the enforcement order. So essentially at this time, the commission would be voting on two things. One, first to ratify the enforcement order that I issued with my signature. And then a second vote would be in response to this request for an extension. And basically, the regulations give quite a bit of leeway with enforcement orders. So the commission can vote to grant the requested extension, not grant the extension. You can give a different extension based on what the commission thinks we need to best ensure compliance with the enforcement order.
Okay, thank you. It looks as though that request for extension was September 20th, correct?
Yes, I think the anticipation was that this would have been heard on September 21st, but due to the quorum concern, we are essentially holding the September 21st meeting now.
Right. Okay. And there isn't anyone here representing the client?
I do not see anyone, no.
Commissioners?
I move to ratify the enforcement order that Megan issued.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to ratify the enforcement order for 1330 Pleasant Street. And motion has been made and seconded.
Speaker, aye.
Curtis, I.
Forrest, aye. Motion passes. And the extension now, in response to the request for an extension. The original. Let me see, the original certificate of compliance was issued. Was it in 2018? Is that correct?
The amended order of conditions was from 2018, I believe that's correct. And then the certificate of compliance request for that was December 2021.
Okay. It's been a few years that construction debris and the requests have been made regarding the change in plans. Commissioners, any discussion?
What does he hope to have accomplished by October?
By my understanding from reading the email request is that the engineer, Azui Teniro, is preparing the notice of intent, but he's requesting that in order to prepare a comprehensive and adequate mitigation approach for addressing the alleged deficiencies, we request the 30-day extension to October 21st. So it sounds like they are preparing the notice of intent plan and are requesting additional time to submit it. So I think in that case, the commission is considering, if they're granting this extension and until when, with the expectation of that, for example, if you grant the extension to October 21st, with the assumption that the notice of intent will be filed by that date.
How long does it take for a notice of intent to actually be filed and processed and received by your office?
So when an application is submitted to our office, we get one hard copy and PDF copies. I can generally check it for completion within a day. And then based on when it was filed, if it was filed ahead of an upcoming meeting, it would be scheduled for that meeting. But generally speaking, I can check for completeness upon filing.
And then there would have to be a butter notification and all of that at that time?
To be heard, yes.
I think the fact that he's retained an engineer to look into it shows positive movement on rectifying some of the infractions. So I would be inclined to say yes to the extension.
Laura, any thoughts on that?
Well, if it goes to the 21st, we meet October 19th. So then we won't even talk about it till November. And I remember this case last year. And I think we could say, and Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, we can make a different date established. And I think that if we said to them that we wanted to hear this case on October 19th, we wanted to see this notice of intent, what is the date that they would have to have that to you? The revised plan.
Right, so if the commission wants confirmation that it has been filed, you could set it for, say, noon on the 19th. And I could provide confirmation at the meeting on the 19th that it's been filed. Of course, it wouldn't be heard as a notice of intent unless it was filed. Generally, it would need to be filed 2 weeks ahead of a meeting to do a butter notification and all of that. But if the commission's looking for confirmation that it's been filed, I would say noon the day of the meeting. I could confirm that it has at least been submitted, and it would be scheduled for the next meeting after that.
So that would allow us to see that there is some forward momentum and some action that's being taken.
Well, I propose that we extend it to October 19th, the next meeting.
What are we extending?
We're granting his extension till October,
To address his deficiencies.
yes, to address.
Second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to extend the deadline for Mr. Gomes to address concerns about 1330 Pleasant Street.
Equal eye.
Curtis, I.
Forrest, aye. Motion passes. And Megan, you'll notify them.
Yes, I will email the applicant and his engineer to let them know the extension date.
It was just a little concerning to me personally to feel that you had asked for specific momentum on getting rid of debris and taking specific actions, and then they, and then he ended up kind of ignoring that and building a pool within a very delicate area. Yeah.
I remember him coming before the board
Mm.
and talking about.
Thank you. I believe that's it, except for the approval of minutes. We had a chance to read the minutes from the July 20th meeting.
Yes.
Any motion to,
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the 7/20/22 commissioners meeting minutes.
okay,
Curtis, second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Equal eye.
Curtis, I.
Vora's aye. So that 7:20 meetings have been passed, have been accepted. I did read over 8/17/22 minutes, and that was a really, really long meeting. I'm sure you remember. I did see a few things that were just, some of them typographical, but some of them because it is a legal document, right? It's retained as a permanent record. There were just a few things that I wanted to pass by Megan before they were approved. So if it's all right with you, I'll talk to Megan about those tomorrow and bring it up tomorrow. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So
I was unable to make that meeting, so I really can't comment on anything that was discussed.
you do have some reading to do, ma'am. It was a bit lengthy.
Yes. So, Representative Dubois was at that meeting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was actually a fair amount of public comment on,
I can see that,
yeah, it was,
and that was just on the Howard Street Sports Complex.
there were several, it was more political, more politicians that participated than I'd ever seen before, actually, and more public comment. But
Yeah.
I haven't been doing this for that long, but it did seem quite robust.
I have a question. The previous approval for a complex, a sports complex, and there was plans made and submitted, is that correct? And were they approved by the board for development?
If you're referring to the RDA, the RDA is for the sports complex plans, and that item, it was on tonight's agenda and it was continued to
Right.
the August 19th meeting pending revisions to the submission.
Right.
And so just to clarify, are we considering a motion to continue the approval of the August meeting minutes to tomorrow's meeting?
You need a motion for that, do you think?
Well, if we're voting to approve it, then I guess we can make a motion to
Vote on that tomorrow.
vote on it tomorrow.
Okay, in that case, because the agenda is already posted, Madam Chair, I would recommend at the end of the meeting that at your discretion, you can revisit the meeting minutes.
Okay. Fine. At the end of the meeting tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, certainly we'll do that. Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Have a lovely evening.
Same to you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay,
Same time, same bad channel.
thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.